Be me, Marin, 40, CEO and co-founder of a B2B SaaS company. Product is compliance workflows for ops teams that fear audits and outages. Series B closed last year and the bank balance still feels unreal. Cash on hand sits around 17 million after burn, refunds, and cloud bills. Headcount is 83, mostly remote, with an office used for photo ops. ARR is 4.6 million, climbing 35%, steady enough to brag. Equity stake is 30%, which looks like 8 figures on a slide. Paper wealth tastes like invincibility and smells like a future lawsuit. Public persona is clean and calm, founder minimalism and confident vowels. LinkedIn bio says building ethical software and inclusive teams that ship. Conference circuit knows my face because panels love a simple success story. Investors like my Polish because Polish reads as control in shaky markets. Internal reality is a calendar that eats sleep and spits out obligations. Stress lives in my jaw, but my Zoom smile stays perfectly hydrated. Co-founder is Eli, 45, CTO, and his brain is the actual company. Eli wrote the first version in a rented basement with a folding desk. Core scheduler, permissions, data model, retries, and the ugly glue are his. Hoodies, old sneakers, and a coffee mug, stained like a production incident. No social media, no podcasts, no vibes, just monitoring dashboards and quiet curses. Meeting attendance is grudging because he treats gatherings like latency spikes. Talent is undeniable, which makes him hard to replace and harder to manage. Early years were balanced, me selling the dream while he kept it real. Growth changed everything because growth turns dreams into deadlines with penalties. Board started asking for enterprise expansion, bigger deals, more features, more speed. My job became promising the future, and his job became protecting the present. Tension started small, like disagreements about priorities and quarter timelines. My side wanted velocity because velocity is what investors clap for. His side wanted stability because stability is what customers renew for. Worst part was how he corrected me in front of the board. Not cruelly, not loudly, just factual, like a receipt sliding across a table. Board member asks if 2 major modules can ship in 1 quarter. My mouth says yes because CEOs don't get paid to hesitate. Eli clears his throat and says not with current architecture and staffing. Everyone looks relieved like he just prevented a public cliff dive. My face smiles while my authority quietly loses traction. Private talks tried to fix it, weekly one-on-ones with calm language. My complaint was simple: contradictions make me look unprepared and weak. His reply was simpler: don't promise what the system cannot deliver. That sentence felt like disrespect, even when it was true. Frustration found a label, and labels are gasoline for anxious leadership. Blunt turned into toxic, cautious turned into obstructive, and tired turned into hostile. Narrative became easier than nuance because nuance doesn't fit in a deck. Decision to hire real engineering leadership formed in my head like destiny. Engineering director offer went to Sienna, 32, ex-big tech, shiny resume. Sienna was smart, ambitious, great communicator, and fluent in roadmap theater. Bonus detail was her being a woman, which I noticed without admitting. She ran meetings cleanly, presented calmly, and spoke in investor-friendly sentences. Eli saw her as a newcomer who wanted to refactor the universe. First big conflict came fast because Sienna arrived with a transformation plan. Proposal included microservices split, new event bus, new teams, new everything. Engineering all hands loved the diagrams because diagrams feel like progress. Eli listened quietly, asked a few narrow questions, then said, "Not now." His reasons were dull and terrifying: migration risk, complexity, and cascading failures. Sienna smiled on stage, then came to my office, simmering and bright-eyed. Her words were sharp. He dismisses me. He shuts down ideas. He blocks change. My chest recognized the feeling because I had the same bruise. Another hire followed because founders love solving tension with headcount. VP of People and Culture arrived. Noor, 36, framework heavy, policy fluent. Noor brought inclusive language guides, bias workshops, feedback rituals, and mandatory sessions. Investor updates looked beautiful because culture programs photograph well. Engineering reacted with silence, cameras off, mics muted, compliance without enthusiasm. Eli reacted with open irritation, which made my new story easier. After a 4-hour training, he emailed me that it was wasted time. His note mentioned 2 incidents and a tired team, blunt as a hammer. My forward to Noor included 1 sentence: "This is what I'm dealing with." Noor replied with careful HR phrasing about harmful tone and misalignment. Board pressure increased right when my resentment became organized. Quarter ended slightly behind plan, and investors started asking sharper questions. Board meeting began with my growth narrative and Sienna's crisp delivery roadmap. Eli's section arrived like cold air because he refused to perform optimism. He said features could ship, but incident rate would rise with parallel changes. Someone asked why we couldn't hire more engineers and do everything at once. Eli explained coordination overhead and short-term slowdown, the classic reality speech. My voice jumped in, confident, saying we could do both with strong leadership. Eli looked at me and said, "Speed isn't a decision, it's a constraint." Laughter from the board felt friendly, yet my stomach felt publicly corrected. Hallway confrontation happened after, because I couldn't swallow that feeling. My accusation was clear: "You made me look foolish in there." His reply was colder: "You made promises the system can't keep." My line was vision matters because CEOs cling to vision like oxygen. His line was reliability matters because software runs on constraints, not quotes. Moment snapped something in me, and the decision formed without ceremony. Eli had to go, not today, but soon, and the plan began. Firing a co-founder requires persuasion, so persuasion became my new project. Documentation started, every blunt comment framed as dismissive and harmful. Sienna provided examples, meeting notes where Eli said no quickly. Noor gathered anonymous feedback describing him as unapproachable and resistant to change. Some feedback was true because Eli's communication was rough even when right. Some feedback was interpretive because pain becomes evidence when you need it. Eli noticed the temperature shift before I was ready to admit it. His behavior changed, and the change looked like surrender but felt like threat. Arguments stopped, debates ended, and noted replaced explanations. Mentoring faded, architecture reviews shrank, and juniors stopped learning the why. Questions received links to old docs instead of thoughtful walkthroughs. His presence became ghost-like, badge still working, leadership no longer offered. Noor called it stonewalling, and the words sounded medical and useful. Special board session got scheduled, topic labeled alignment and technical direction. Eli thought it was about hiring and delivery because he still believed in logic. My deck was calm, 25 slides of risk, culture, and retention. Nor spoke about psychological safety and the risk of losing diverse talent. Sienna spoke about modern execution and needing a CTO who inspires and empowers. My portion emphasized Series C optics and leadership confidence for enterprise buyers. Quiet part stayed unspoken, yet everyone heard the melody anyway. Eli sat still, hands folded, face unreadable, which unnerved the whole room. When asked to respond, he didn't defend himself with passion or anger. His answer was one sentence: "If you want me out, I'll sign and leave." Silence hit hard, because surrender makes people doubt their own reasons. Board asked about transition, and I offered Sienna as interim CTO. Eli finally added context. She's talented, but she doesn't know this system. Board member called that gatekeeping, and Noor nodded like it proved the case. Vote happened 3-2, and the verdict was removal from CTO role. Strategic advisor title was offered, which is a polite word for sidelined. Eli declined the advisor role without drama, as if he'd rehearsed. Separation agreement arrived, and he read it like a log file. Signature happened quietly, and the pen stroke felt louder than applause. Company-wide email went out the next morning, carefully worded and strangely cheerful. Message said Eli was pursuing other opportunities and we were grateful. Message announced Sienna as new CTO and highlighted inclusive leadership values. Slack reacted with generic emojis and 0 real sentences, which felt ominous. Sienna posted an upbeat note about shipping fast with empathy and clarity. Engineers replied with hearts like they were checking boxes on a form. First 2 weeks looked great because systems don't collapse instantly on schedule. Sienna increased meeting cadence, added rituals, created decision logs, and launched initiatives. Microservices split returned, platform rewrite reopened, plus 2 customer features promised. My mood improved because velocity feels like moral victory when you're insecure. Investor update sounded confident because early wins are easy to narrate. First incident hit in week 3, a billing delay that stopped upgrades briefly. War room ran smoothly because small fires still obey process. Root cause came from a senior engineer named Milo, tenured and painfully calm. Milo said a lock was removed during refactoring, revealing a race condition. Sienna argued the lock hurt performance, and Milo said performance was the symptom. Service came back, and my company-wide email praised teamwork and resilience. Worry stayed hidden because CEOs are trained to hide fear like a defect. Second incident arrived the next week. Migration mistake that knocked the product offline. Downtime lasted 4 hours and 2 customers churned with angry legal language. Support team began building apology templates because repetition became survival. Sienna framed it as normal turbulence while moving fast, and I repeated her. Engineering behavior shifted, and the shift felt subtle and very wrong. Pushback vanished, alternative proposals stopped, and compliance became perfect. Requests from Sienna got executed exactly, even when timing seemed reckless. Friday deploys happened on Friday because the directive existed in writing. Parallel projects stayed parallel, even when the team looked exhausted. Silence replaced debate, like everyone decided to let momentum do the harm. Milo requested a private talk and his tone sounded careful and tired. His point was simple: too many changes at once, too much unknown risk. His warning was specific: microservices split should wait until stability improves. My question turned sharp. Are you saying she isn't qualified for this job? His face showed shock, because he expected engineering talk, not politics. His reply was about experience and code-based knowledge, not gender or ideology. My ears heard undermining anyway because my narrative needed villains. My answer came cold. Support your CTO or find a better fit elsewhere. He left quietly, and the quiet felt like a door closing behind him. Month 2 became a blur of incidents, alerts, late nights, and brittle calm. On-call rotation stretched, engineers slept less, and mistakes multiplied. 3 senior engineers resigned within 2 weeks, all from Eli's original core. Reasons were polite: new opportunity, personal growth, better alignment, no drama. Replacement hiring failed repeatedly because candidates smell chaos through interviews. Investors started asking about reliability metrics, and I started dodging. Sienna worked 80-hour weeks, insisted she was fine, and approved more changes. Her mindset was prove yourself by shipping, which is brave until it's fatal. My mindset was defend the decision because admitting doubt would crack my identity. Friday afternoon in month 3 delivered the outage that ended our story. Alerts spiked, latency climbed, error rates exploded, and the dashboard turned solid red. Not one service failed, everything failed, like the system inhaled smoke at once. War room filled with 30 faces, cameras on, eyes wide, hands shaking. Logs scrolled, graphs cratered, retries stormed, and the database began complaining. Customers flooded support. Enterprise prospects asked if we were stable enough to sign. Tweet screenshots of our status page started circulating in angry threads. Small tech blogs wrote posts because embarrassment spreads faster than patches. Hours passed, partial recoveries failed, and corruption warnings grew louder. Sienna tried to manage and diagnose simultaneously, which is impossible at scale. Her voice stayed calm at first, then cracked, then went quiet. Saturday morning arrived with the platform still down and morale fully shattered. Sienna finally admitted she didn't understand the older core interactions deeply enough. Milo said the sentence nobody wanted. We need Eli to navigate this safely. My immediate response was no, because pride is louder than alarms. Another engineer backed Milo because facts don't care about my leadership story. Board started calling hourly, asking about refunds, contracts, and legal exposure. Nor drafted statements like we were in a PR incident, because we were. My hands shook as I called Eli from my phone straight to voicemail. Second call went to voicemail again, and the silence felt personal. Text message said emergency platform down, please help, and it stayed unread. Email subject was urgent and the inbox showed no reply. New call from an office line rang once, then ended, then rang never again. Realization hit hard. He blocked my number completely. Borrowed phone from my assistant, called again and got blocked within minutes. Husband's phone got blocked. Coworker's phone got blocked, like a firewall learning. Sienna whispered that we should keep trying. Voice small, eyes wet from shame. Random number service sent a text that finally delivered through his filters. 10 minutes later, one reply arrived. You made your decision. Message turned green, then failed, then showed blocked, like a door slamming. His refusal wasn't loud, it was final, which hurt more than insults. Sunday dragged, and we brute-forced partial recovery with frantic patches and guesswork. Data inconsistencies appeared, tasks vanished, and customers felt violated and furious. Late Sunday night we restored access, but trust was already gone. Downtime approached 70 hours, and in SaaS time, That's an extinction event. Monday emergency board meeting began with dead faces and sharp numbers. Refund exposure looked brutal, churn forecasts climbed, and pipeline died in real time. ARR dropped by nearly a third as customers canceled and demanded credits. Sienna resigned during the meeting, voice shaking, saying she wasn't ready. Noor's posture stiffened because HR frameworks don't fix databases. Board demanded Eli's return, offering anything, equity, money, control, public apology. My call through a mutual friend finally connected, and Eli answered calmly. My words said mistake, my tone said panic, and his silence said everything. His response was quiet. You called me a risk, now you want me as a cure. Offer numbers got larger, promises got softer, and his refusal stayed clean. His closing line landed cold. The company needed me before you edited reality. Call ended, and he blocked that number too, like sealing a vault. Board voted that week, removing me as CEO and installing an interim operator. Founder and residence title was offered, the velvet glove version of being fired. Staff cuts followed, projects paused, marketing stopped, and the office became a liability. Brightwork turned into a company that apologized and begged customers to stay. Series C conversations evaporated because investors don't fund embarrassment twice. Acquisition arrived 3 months later, not a win. A salvage operation. Purchase price barely covered debts and preferences, leaving scraps for common equity. My 8-figure paper fantasy became a 5-figure check and a ruined reputation. Consulting work started because fallen founders become cautionary advisors for newer founders. Conference invites changed tone from keynote to lessons learned side rooms. 6 months later, an article appeared about Eli raising a seed round. Funding came from a familiar name, one of the same funds that backed us. His new company built reliability tooling for compliance systems, boring and loved by buyers. 2 of our former senior engineers were on his founding team. Their pitch sounded like everything he begged us to prioritize: stability, simplicity, discipline. My stomach twisted. Reading his quote, "We build software that doesn't break when it matters." A year later, I saw Milo at a coffee shop, looking healthier and calmer. His small smile told me he survived, and his badge told me where. He worked with Eli now, he said, and the culture was quiet and competent. My question slipped out. Did Eli sabotage us? And Milo looked almost offended. His answer was blunt. No sabotage, just boundaries, and boundaries can feel like cruelty. He said Eli warned us repeatedly, then stopped saving us when we stopped listening. He said the team complied perfectly because arguing had become dangerous. He said Friday deploys were exactly what leadership asked for in writing. He said nobody wanted to be the next villain in a values deck. My throat tightened because the rebellion wasn't sabotage, it was consent to failure. 2 years later, I attended a Women in Tech event as a normal attendee. Badge stayed flipped because being recognized felt like stepping on broken glass. Someone asked what really happened, voice curious and careful. Truth came out, ego mixed with optics, and I mistook challenge for harm. My confession sounded ugly because it was, and the listener didn't celebrate it. She said competence matters, humility matters, and trust can't be threatened into existence. Night ended, and I walked home under streetlights feeling oddly awake. Inbox showed a new email from an address with no name and one subject line. Subject read, "You made your decision. and my pulse jumped like an alert. Email body contained one sentence: "I blocked you so you wouldn't learn the wrong lesson." No signature, no explanation, no forgiveness, just that clean, cold idea. Refresh happened, and the email disappeared like it never existed. Brain tried to call it spam, yet the timing felt too precise. Sleep didn't come because my mind replayed every moment with new clarity. New document opened, and I wrote what I wished I believed earlier. Leadership isn't winning narratives, it's choosing reality and paying the cost. Culture isn't decks, it's what people do when they stop trusting you. Values don't keep systems running, reliability does, and reliability hates ego. Bottom line of the page held the phrase that ended everything. You made your decision, and the world simply enforced it.